Aubrey. We are talking about exercise today. Well,
Yes,
kind of.
I'm so excited to hear your sample part 2 answer because it sounds like it comes with, a very fun story. This is gonna be great.
Yes, guys. So, in the second part of today's episode, I'm going to provide a sample part two answer about describing an exercise that I often do. And I was telling Aubrey before we recorded, I was like, oh, there's exciting news I forgot to tell you, but I can include it in the answer. So, stay tuned for that, you guys.
Yes, I can't wait. We got a really good question about speaking part 2, and we want actually, the reason it was such a good question is the name. The
Yep.
person's name is Boogeyman, which I love. This is their
Love
Spotify
it.
name. We wanna share this means a couple different things in English. One of them is like a scary monster, like,
A
"Oh, the
boogeyman.
boogeyman is, like,
If it's
under your
all one
bed."
word. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Exactly.
and
Yeah, like, if you watch any supernatural stories, like the show literally called Supernatural, or, Grimm, like, any show that features a bunch of different monsters, there's always gonna be a show about a boogeyman, and every culture has boogeymans and their fables and stuff, but also, boogie, just by itself as a verb, means to dance, to boogie. So, very different meanings there.
yeah, I'm not sure which one this student means, right? If they like to dance or the scary version.
I don't
They're so
know.
different.
But guys, you have to watch this video on YouTube because like we are acting out both the scary and the dancing. So remember to go to YouTube and subscribe to IELTS Energy TV. All right, so let's get into this, Aubrey. Before we get to my sample model part two answer, let's talk about how to start part two because I feel like whew, a lot of students, even high level students, are starting part two wrong.
Yes, exactly, right? Our student boogeyman asked, how do I answer speaking part 2? And this is the one of the biggest mistakes we see
Mhm.
is when students begin their answer, it's monotone, it's boring, it's not exciting. Your pronunciation score goes down if you don't have interesting intonation, and you're also not engaging the examiner, pulling them in, getting them excited to hear your answer. There are so many better ways to start your answer. So first we're going to share how you should not start your answer, and then we'll share better options of how to start your speaking part 2 answer.
All right. So if your answer begins with something that is not natural, don't say it. Okay. So, for example, you might see this in IELTS textbooks, even. It tells you to start part two. Today, I would like to talk about whatever.
Yes.
Let's just use today's topic as an example. An exercise you do often. Today, I would like to talk about an exercise I do often. Okay, we would never say that in real life, guys, unless you are starting, like a speech or a presentation. And that is not what IELTS is.
Yeah, and not only is it a pronunciation issue where that's going to tend toward monotony, like you're likely going to say this in a monotone, but
Mhm.
just like Jessica said, it's also very unnatural. If you're going to tell someone about an exercise, you would never start describing it by saying,
I know.
"I would like to tell you about an exercise I do." That would be very strange.
It is my pleasure to talk about how I lift weights at the gym 3 days a week. Like, no, it's not. So, we'll give you some more examples, guys, but the overall piece of advice here is that we need to start part 2 in a natural way, and we will tell you how to do that in just a minute. So, let's just quickly go through this list, Aubrey, of how not to start speaking part 2. What else should we not say?
Yes, we also don't wanna say, "Today I will talk about," or "Today my answer will be." These, again, are very unnatural. It sounds like you're starting a speech instead of describing to a friend an exercise.
Right, right. Or I would like to tell you about just nothing like that, guys. And the last thing to definitely not do in speaking part two is just to read the card. And I've seen a lot of students do this where the examiner will say, you can begin speaking now, please. And the student just looks at the card and just reads it. Describe an exercise you do often.
Right.
Okay. Like,
Or they say,
um,
"I have been asked to describe an exercise
I
I
know.
read often," and then they even might read the, like, 3 bullet points.
Yeah,
No,
I've
this
seen it
does not work.
happen.
Yeah.
Do not do that. So, Aubrey, what are our options for starting part two naturally?
Yes, instead, start it how you would actually tell a friend about an exercise. Like, I cannot wait to tell you about this new exercise I've been trying.
Exactly. But it has to be it has to make sense, right? So you can't say like, I cannot wait to tell you about this nightmare that I've had recently. Like
Right.
it has to make sense. So that's why we're giving you guys lots of options today because in these options you will be able to find one that fits any topic, right? So here's the first one, right? I am so excited I got this question because I can talk about this thing. Or like, I actually can't believe I got this question because crazy story. I just saw my best friend from high school yesterday, like if that's the topic.
Yes, exactly. Or when I saw this topic, I thought, oh no. And then it could be that something you haven't thought about recently, or I don't have a lot to say about that. Admit that. That's no problem, right? As long as you then fill the 2 minutes telling a story, sharing anything related, that's a great way to start that answer.
Yeah, that is, I think, applicable to anything. Like, if it's something great, you could be like, "When I saw this topic, I was so excited because I'm actually a very healthy person and I exercise a lot, so I have a lot to say about this." Or if it's something you don't know about, "When I saw this topic, I felt a little bit nervous, to be honest, because I haven't been to an art museum in 20 years."
Yeah, or maybe you're not into exercise. It's the
Yeah,
same question, right? I kind
totally.
of panicked because I honestly don't exercise very often. Just going to be
Right?
honest about that.
Yeah, totally. All right. So it's time for me to give a sample part two answer. Now, I didn't really take a lot of notes for this, right? So this is just spontaneous, off the top of the dome. Best I can do speaking part two.
I love that idiom off the top of the dome. Just means like, yeah, same as off the top of my head, right?
Yeah.
Just on the fly. That's really fun. Okay, here's your question. Describe an exercise you do often.
Okay. I am so excited that I get to talk about exercise because I legit had a physical fitness breakthrough last week, okay? All right, let me give you some backstory first, some context so you can understand why this is an actual breakthrough. I have had 2 knee surgeries, and the last knee surgery I had, it fixed my ACL and my meniscus, and that was like, oof, gosh, like 2 years ago? No, year and a half ago. Anyway, long story short, I have not been able to actually run for 2 years because spoiler alert, I tore my ACL and meniscus again. So currently my knee is like half a knee. There's a bunch of stuff broken in there. Anyway, last week we had a sunny day. It was like a high of 55. It was beautiful. And we've just had these ice storms, and like it was such a relief to have sun and warmth. And I thought, you know what? Running, jogging is basically just fast forward walking, and I can do that. So I'm going to try jogging. I ended up running for almost 2 miles with my dogs in the sun. And I cannot tell you how relieved I was because I know the topic is something I do often. And I used to run all the time with my dogs. And I'm really hoping that this become are you timing me?
I was about to say thank you, but no, I forgot to time you. So
I
I'm
was
really
like, that
curious.
was
You guys will
definitely longer than
you'll
2
have to look
minutes.
back and see how close that was to 2 minutes. I'm curious because I feel like Jessica really has a good feel for how long a 2-minute sample answer is, and I'm really curious if, like, right at 2 minutes, you were like, "Are you timing me?"
That would be so great. We gotta
I'm
look
going to
back
go
and
and
see
check.
that.
Oh man, such great intonation, like from the get with the way you started it to say, I am so excited I get to talk about this today, right? Fantastic. There's no monotone here. And the examiner, especially after probably several student answers, starting with like, today I will speak about, they're
Yeah,
going to be excited to hear your answer. If you start it like this with interest and
totally.
intonation, and then it's just so many great when you say, I legit had a physical fitness breakthrough. This chunk, you guys, you can replace physical fitness with anything. And this is such a useful chunk, right? If you say, like, I legit found the most fantastic restaurant.
Yeah,
whatever it is,
totally.
right? You can add breakthrough if it's some kind of breakthrough, but just to use the slang legit and this interesting pronunciation is very high level and impressive.
So legit is short for legitimately, and it replaces like really or honestly, I would have to say, like
Yes.
both of those
Yep.
meanings together, like really honestly, this is amazing and true. Like it kind of means all of those things.
Exactly, but band 9 because students don't use it very often, so practice
Totally.
using this. I legit and then, yeah, anything that you would say, I truly did this, I honestly did this. And then I loved the way when you were not quite sure how long it had been, you were like, "Oh, that was oof, gosh, I think a year ago." And no, it was a year and a half ago. I want you guys to pay attention to this because in an answer, if you want to correct yourself or you remember something absolutely go back and listen to how Jessica does it. It's so native and natural. Examiners do not consider this like pausing, hesitating, fixing a mistake, not at all. This is very native and natural and the vocab she uses to do that with the oof, gosh, no, it's exactly how we do it, how native speakers interrupt themselves and change something.
Definitely go back, guys, and listen to a recent episode we did about pausing and hesitating. Let me
Mm.
find that.
I'm going to share
Um,
one more piece of feedback while you look that up.
Perfect.
There was another thing I loved that you did where you at the end, you were saying, "I cannot tell you how relieved I was." And I really wanna point out the pronunciation here because if you say this in a monotone and say like, "I cannot tell you how relieved I was," that would be so bizarre. Like this, you need to show that expressiveness because if you're saying you're super excited or super relieved, it's very strange to do that without hitting it harder without letting your emotion show in your voice. So again, go back and listen to the pronunciation so you can hear how to really get those higher pronunciation scores.
Totally. And go and watch this on YouTube if you're not watching this on YouTube, guys, if you're listening to the podcast, because you can see how we gesture with our hands, what our face does when our voice does certain things. It's all part of the communicative package, guys. So go to IELTS Energy TV. This is episode 1360. And go back, guys, and listen to episode 1350, pausing versus hesitating, what matters for speaking scores, because that will help explain some of Aubrey's excellent feedback today, why it matters and when it matters to pause and or hesitate on speaking. Awesome. Fantastic. I would love to hear what you guys would say to answer this question. So leave a comment on the YouTube channel. Go to
Yeah.
IELTS Energy TV and comment on this video 1360.
Awesome. Yes. Practice answering this, answering lots of different questions that might be asked about exercise, and practice starting your part 2 questions in a more interesting way to boost your fluency and pronunciation scores.
Yes, definitely. Awesome. All right, Aubrey. Thanks for chatting today.
Awesome. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.